Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is the third film in the Ant-Man trilogy, so now it's time to rank all three Ant-Man films from the worst to the best. Now, every movie on this list I gave a positive review, so just because a movie is in one of the lower spots on this list doesn't mean I didn't like it, it just means that I think the ones higher up are better. So with that in mind, let's get started. And coming in at last place at number 3 is Ant-Man and the Wasp's Quantumania. Now, I said I really enjoyed this movie. I thought the Quantum Realm was very creative. I thought Catherine Newton worked very well with Paul Rudd. Jonathan Majors absolutely steals the show as the villain Kang. But in terms of the tone, it is definitely the most serious of the three Ant-Man films. There is still some humor, but not nearly as much as its predecessors, so it is a bit of an odd tone shift. Also, Michael Pena and the rest of the group who are the comic relief in the previous two films aren't even in this one, and there's no explanation as to where they went. And you can kind of feel their presence missing from the film. I feel like they needed to be in this, even though the story probably didn't call for it, but it's a little bit of the hole that needed to be filled. They weren't even in there as cameos, which is disappointing. And I do think that Bill Murray was a little bit wasted in this film. They didn't really give him a lot to do. They didn't really give him a lot of funny lines to say. However, the film still has grand big spectacle, whereas the other two films were relatively small scale. It was still entertaining, but it definitely had a very different tone than the other two films. Number 2, Ant-Man. A fun little heist movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, with a great ensemble cast, as well as a great character arc for the main character. It's funny, it's clever, it's action-packed, but what holds it back a little bit is the villain in the film isn't the best written. He's a little too reminiscent of Obadiah Stane from Iron Man, and the third act also takes a lot of those same story beats. It is still a fun movie, but it feels a bit familiar and relatively safe. And coming at number 1 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. This takes everything that worked about the first film and then ups the ante. The villain is a lot better. The jokes that worked in the first film are done even better here. The action is better. Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly have a great dynamic in this film. It's fun to watch. Out of the three films in the Ant-Man trilogy, it's the one I'm most entertained by, so it comes in at number 1. So share your ranking of the Ant-Man trilogy, and I will see you back here on sometime this week for my MCU ranking, as well as a few other things coming out this week.